Hello. Do you have problems with the following symptoms? Pregnancy, death, and flow of time? Allow me to provide you the solution. May I introduce to you the Angel, the perfect convenience tool for any plot holes that you might find yourself accustomed to. Call now to receive a free BORDON. Hey guys, MasakoX here. WHYS. My second favourite Dragon Ball character. No joke. It's been a long time since we've talked about this character specifically, but now that Dragon Ball Super's finished, or at least for the time being, I think it's the right time to come back to this character. So let's start from the top. WHYS, our mysterious angelic buddy that was introduced back to us in the days of Battle of Gods, well, almost 5 years ago actually, turns out to be an angel. And it certainly isn't a mystery here on the MasakoX channel that we like WHYS a lot. We like him for the fact that he is just supremely wise, and he seems to actually be the ultimate mentor character for the likes of Goku and Vegeta, who've pretty much outgrown any other possible kind of mentor character there is out there. Someone who is more than willing to share his experience and knowledge and actually be helpful for the main cast. I mean, so long as you've got a nice plate of food before you. Unlike some other divine beings that I'm aware of that have the name that begins with the letter S. Basically for the fact that he's just done absolutely nothing. Well, okay, that's slightly untrue. Toei's not really been doing much with the character. He's done a little more in the manga. I'm willing to give Shin a bit of a break because I think I've realised something. I think what they've tried to do to undermine Shin's power and influence is to basically make Whis the anti-Shin. But what I'm trying to get at here is that what Whis is now is what Shin was supposed to be in terms of a divine entity, because we remember back in the Buu saga when Shin was introduced, he seemed like the most ultimate person out there, someone who was capable of almost anything. We thought that King Kai knew everything, but nope, Shin was where it was at. I mean, obviously that was disproven quite early on in the arc, but hey, that first impression, ooh, that was good. This is really hard for me to say because I like Whis a lot, but now that we've actually seen the character in a full series, I'm really starting to think that Whis has now become quite overpowered. Why do I think all of this? Well, this pretty much started about maybe just a year or two into Whis' conception, and that was with the whole time rewind shtick. This plot point was probably one of the most controversial and divisive parts of the Resurrection F movie and arc. It absolutely decimated any kind of stakes or peril that was going on in that story, and it was just a convenience tool. And all this after a really exciting twist, especially in the series. My god, that was intense. Also, it didn't really help prior to that time rewind thing that Whis and BORDON kinda did nothing. They were just there because they were popular. Hey, for the next movie, why don't we have some Whis and BORDON just appear for no reason, demanding for some ice cream? Okay, Whis plays a little bit of an impact at the beginning of the movie, but they should really just stay there and then maybe turned up at the end when all was said and done. It made the Resurrection F movie, instead of a really good movie, into just a good movie. Put simply, this just killed the mood. And don't get me wrong, Dragon Ball does need a healthy dose of humour in its stories, but this one kinda fell flat because, you know, BORDON and Whis, they love their food. Let's just give them more food. And also, don't do it right in the proximity of one of the most iconic fights in the entirety of the Dragon Ball history. Fighting one of the most iconic enemies in the series, someone who'd just been brought back after years of absence to then be coming to get his revenge against Goku, filled with rage, having discovered a really new power in 4 months. I mean, that's a whole other kettle of fish, but that's for another time. This was meant to be a really big deal, and the flow was really good in the movie, and stuff like that. And then Whis and BORDON are there. Oh, okay, right. And what's more, Frieza was aware of Whis and BORDON's influence and power, so he was kind of on the back foot right from the start. So he was just like, Whis and BORDON are here. Oh, dang it. Had Whis and BORDON just been unknown to Frieza, and he was just thinking, oh, these silly little people, I have no idea about their power. Oh god, they're really powerful. That would have been really funny right at the end, that Frieza's about to deal the final blow, and then Whis, I think that'll be quite enough right there. And it's, oh, who are you? Oh, you really don't want to know that. Boom! And if things got really out of hand, BORDON would have just stepped in and stopped everything. But what saved the whole time rewind thing is that it does have its limitations. WHYS can only go backwards about 3 minutes or so. So you've got to be really careful and think exactly what you're going to do with that 3-minute thing. And you can't abuse it, you can't just spam that thing again and again, because as we discovered in the Super series, that every time you do that, you then splinter off the time-space continuum and you create a time ring. Therefore, we get the whole Goku Black Future Trunks thing. I really don't want to get into that right now because it's making my head hurt. Only the likes of the Grand Priest can basically have a limitless amount of time to rewind. And that does make sense because he's the GP. So yeah, the time rewind thing isn't the worst slight against WHYS, but it's a very good example that WHYS was slowly turning into just a plot convenience. And we haven't even got to the whole miraculous birth thing that came at the beginning of the Universe Survival arc. Bulma's second child, Bra, was born cleanly. No mess required whatsoever. And I think there was a very good reason for that. When it comes to kids and being born in Dragon Ball, that just doesn't happen. You see, what usually happens is that two characters fall in love, there's a bit of a time skip, and then boom, a kid's there. We saw that with Baby Trunks, we saw that with Gohan. That's just the way it goes. We saw that with Pan even. We don't really talk about pregnancy in Dragon Ball because that's not what Toriyama does. Anything to do with romance or relationships or anything that... No, you don't do that. But oh my god, in Super, we actually see something relatively realistic. Bulma being pregnant. Whis, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're doing that, why exactly? Oh, for the yucks, right. Oh, okay, Bra's right there. Okay, Whis can now just go boop and make anything happen. Right, okay. I must imagine there must have been a lot of head scratching at that moment, trying to figure out what to do in that situation to make Bra be a thing. Okay, so, Mr. Toriyama, I think we've written ourselves into a corner here. What are we gonna do with Vegeta and him entering the Tournament of Power because he's got his kid to come along? What do we do? WHYS magic. And this is the holy grail for any writer out there. To have a character that only does that. Make plot holes go away. First off, you create a character who is very likable, has a sizable fan base, and plenty of defenders to justify their actions. In this case, WHYS being an ancient divine spirit who's an angel as well, so, you know, you can never fully understand them because they're a very nebulous conception. And at any point you have a narrative noodle scratcher, just use them and the problem will go away. Kinda like Superman. Now to be fair, I can understand why you wouldn't want to go to the intricacies and the details of childbirth in Dragon Ball, because remember, this is a kid's show. You don't really do that. I can understand that bit. But what you can do is just imply things off screen. You could have a door, Bulma's struggling to give birth to Bra, that kind of stuff. You don't have to show it, you just imply it. It's a very good narrative tool and it shows very good intellect and sophistication. The kids will get it, but they don't have to see all of that. Suffice to say, WHYS's job in the Tournament of Power arc is just to be a little bit of a fixer-upper as well as a coach. The final piece of the puzzle for me came about at the Super Series finale, episode 131. This transformed WHYS, at least in my mind, from just being a little fixer-upper into a complete WHYS ex machina. Why is that, Masako? Well, he can revive the dead. But Masako, you yourself are really mad that Shin wasn't a capable divine being! And I thought you liked WHYS! Why do you hate him now? I'm experiencing so many conflicting emotions, and I'm not sure whether I should, Masako! Unsubscribe! Guys, don't worry, I still like WHYS as a character after all of this. He is way too endearing for me to not like. No, the problem is that Toei and the writing team have given WHYS too much power. He is basically Superman at this point. His powers change from episode to episode depending on what the writers need. In short, WHYS has not really got much of a personality. He is just a fixing tool. In fact, now you've got him around, why do you even need the Dragon Balls? If you can just revive the dead, you could just go to WHYS and just say, "Hey, WHYS, can you do me a solid and bring back Krillin for the nth time?" "Oh, no problem, Goku. Have you got some very delicious food for me?" "Oh, you do? Boop. There you go." And upon finding out this revelation, it made me think that the Resurrection F movie could have been a whole lot worse, or very anticlimactic, because that movie relied heavily on the Dragon Balls being a thing to revive Whis in the first place. If Whis just was there, they turned up, and then goes, oh dear me, Whis is supposed to be dead, I'll just fix that, boop, then you wouldn't have had a story. And now that Whis has revived people on screen, no less, he can easily do it again. He's really endeared to the likes of Goku, who finally got it through his thick head that he could master Ultra Instinct. It was in there the whole time, and he did it. Whis is so proud of the guy, he'll do anything for them. Why am I labouring this point? Well, it's a biggie, because this just lowers the stakes even more, and Dragon Ball already had quite low stakes. I didn't think you could go any lower. It almost turns the entire series into a farce. If you've got a problem, just get Whis to fix it. You've paid him with food, you've mastered Ultra Instinct, he's gonna love you forever. I mean, this is really hard for me to deal with. I'm a Whis worshipper. I love the character, and this is just painful to deal with. I really want Whis and Beerus to take a back seat in the next arc, if there is one. I'm very well aware that Dragon Ball Super's raison d'etre was to surround itself around the divinity of the gods and what powers they could have, and actually how incompetent they are, and how much they need to really focus on themselves. That was the whole reason that Super came into existence. That's what its job was, and we got that. So now, if we have another series, or another installment of Super, like a part 2, it should focus on something else. And with the constant divine intervention, it's going to be getting harder and harder to get more personal stories for the characters, because remember that 9-10 episode stint between the end of the Goku Black arc and the Tournament Power arc? That Weeks of Peace arc was really good. It had some personal character moments. That's what we want. But now we're actually getting into the realms of the gods who don't really have much of a personality instead of just more power. It's a bit of a problem. You can't really develop them because you have to keep them a mystery, or else they're not really effective. And while this might be an ongoing problem for the current series, it's something that could easily be resolved if you look back to Dragon Ball's past, particularly with the Cell Saga. That managed to strike the balance between galactic peril and personal conflict, because we saw that Cell was about to destroy the world and the galaxy, but we were still able to deal with all of the other characters dealing with their own problems. You know, Trunks and Vegeta having their spats, as well as Gohan trying to figure out what his lot was in life. That was a big deal. Everyone says that the Cell Saga was a really good one. And another thing you need to take into consideration for that arc is that we didn't have the likes of the Omni Kings to distract us. We didn't even have the Supreme Kai. The only divine being that we were aware of was King Kai. And, oh yeah, okay, King Yamura as well. King Kai was away from the action. He was a distant bystander, just providing advice and oversight. He couldn't interfere and disrupt what was going down on planet Earth, so it really felt like that the mortals in this situation were really on their own, and they had to solve the problem by actually destroying Cell. All in all, the problem that I have with what WHYS has become is that I feel like the writers and the staff at Toei and Shueisha will start to heavily rely on WHYS too much. We need to look forward. We need to have an arc that doesn't rely on going to the gods for every single little problem. The Angels and the Grand Priest are the prime examples of divine intervention, and I think we're really done with exploring what goes on upstairs, you know? It turns out they are actually pretty incompetent and out of touch from reality of what's actually going down on the Earth and other mortal planets. And I think there's a reason for that. They need to be neutral onlookers and bystanders. They shouldn't be fraternizing with the mortals on a daily basis. And the best example is that we saw that this angel was breaking the rules quite frequently. It takes that divine aura away from him and he loses his mystique somewhat. It's a huge shame, but WHYS, my man, you're a wise fellow. I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. I think it's time that you had some rest and relaxation. And don't get me wrong, I am so glad that WHYS and Beerus appeared before our eyes back in 2013. Their presence provided a breath of fresh air for a formula in a series that I thought was kind of done around that time. They were an instant hit, and it evolved Dragon Ball into a completely different animal, something that could go on for maybe another 1, 2, 3 decades now. WHYS and Beerus are the trailblazers for the 11 other universes in the Dragon World and the Omniverse. You could just go to another universe or another planet in that universe. It's basically the One Piece thing. If you're done here, just go to another place. It's genius. So what do you guys think? Do you think WHYS has been overused? What do you think they could actually do with him and Beerus at this point? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!